So before opening Climb Muskoka, I've been working in the outdoor industry since about 1995, and I was a ski instructor, kayak instructor, mountain bike instructor, skied my whole life, sailed, and then somewhere in 1995 made the decision to work in the outdoor recreation industry, so went to college to get an outdoor diploma. And then I started working in the industry, mostly doing skill teaching, and then finally ended up in a summer camp outdoor center setting where the focus was around community building and group development. And so my focus became less on skills and more on people. I guess probably in 2012 we moved to Bracebridge to Muskoka, and I changed the focus of my career. And after a few years realized that I was missing that piece of connecting with people in a community setting and giving youth a chance to grow and develop as humans and as people and give them leadership experiences and try new things. So my wife Kim and I decided that we would open a climbing gym. Oh, that's a great question. So for me, I mean, number one, the climbing for me used to be a physical activity. And then after an injury that made it so that I couldn't climb anymore, I made a decision after a few years of not climbing to get back into the sport when a gym in Toronto opened. And at that time, it wasn't so much about climbing, it was about the mental wellness and the mental health that climbing provided to me again. So it was a way for me to manage my day-to-day stress. And where that came from was the physical act of climbing, but the other part was the community of people and how we would interact in the gym. And it was about the moment, it was about the send, it was about the project, it was about the send train, it was all those things that combined the coffee, the music, the culture of the gym. Those things are what made it such a good release for me to get clear in my own head. So for me, I think that's probably the number one thing that climbing did for me is the community, the mental health benefits, obviously the physical side of it. Those are probably the main things for me that meant the most from the climbing side of things. Yeah. So my wife and I, Kim and I, our first date was we climbed at Rock and Chalk in Newmarket for our first date. What was the motivation behind it? I mean, really the motivation was when we moved to Muskoka in 2012, our family benefited in many ways. My oldest daughter had a pretty profound case of ADHD that seemed to disappear when we arrived in Muskoka. And now she's a honor roll student and was a valedictorian in school, and consistently does well socially as well as like educationally. So that was huge for us. My youngest daughter Regan has found a new sport that she's excelling in figure skating, and that's we owe that to the phys ed teachers, we owe that to her coaches, we owe that to the community for having the resources available. So the motivation for this gym was we wanted to create a thing that we felt there was a void in the community of, that would provide a beneficial thing for Muskoka, Bracebridge, Muskoka, wherever it is, because we felt like we needed to do something for the community because we've been given so much. And that really was the motivation when we were trying to figure out what it was that we wanted to do to start over here. And really this gym is providing that for us. How did I come across Mosaic? I met these guys when I was working for another company as a sales and marketing rep, and another employee introduced Jason to the company because we were looking for a new line of holds for our climbing walls that we were building. The one thing that struck a note with me was the willingness to put the effort into developing the relationship between the manufacturer and the client. The relationship came first and always came first. And that was one of the things that I really valued and appreciated in those early days, was that relationship. Because for me, relationships are everything. Relationship comes first, and then the other pieces come after that. So that was one of the things that really struck a note for me initially. And then when we were obviously starting to our hold selections, it was a no-brainer for me to go back to Mosaic for holds. And then picking holds up one day, we went and did a tour of Boulder Park, and I saw all these great ladder bases and all of the amazing millwork that was being produced, and I said, man, let's come to me, do it at my place too. So that's where that all came from. Like, you guys showed up with a bottle of champagne. Like that's incredible and so appreciated, you know, like we both got a little teary, you know, and just the care that seems to go in. Like Kat is so responsive to communication. She's really open and patient with me when I lose an email and needs a refresher. Jason's just such a quiet, humble person, but yet does amazing things. And it's that relational piece again that really stands out for me first and foremost. I think a custom experience is what defines a good product for me, and a good service. So I think it's the same, you know, there's a lot of similarities between what you guys have done, is knowing your customer, learning your customer, listening to what they need, hearing what they say, and then following through and providing that custom experience or that custom product, which clearly we've gotten, right? That's something that I aspire to. Is I've got kids that are going to come climbing here. I have 52-year-old superintendents from the police force that are looking to use this as a training facility because they're going to go alpine trekking and they need to learn how to lead. A mother in her 60s that wants to learn how to climb so she can climb with her daughter in British Columbia this summer, and so wants to develop skills and the strength so she can do that this summer. It's hearing, it's similar. Listen to the customer, find out what they need, and then provide that for them, rather than just having that generic model of it's a climbing gym, come in and go rock climbing. I think that's one of the things that we'll aspire for.